Welcome to your digital fitness hub, your studio, your platform, which helps curate fitter, stronger, healthier versions of individuals. And today, on occasion of International Women's Day, we have this pleasure and a privilege to welcome Dr. Asawari Sant, our prominent speaker for the day. Can we have a round of applause for Asawari for sparing her valuable time for being here? Thank you, Asawari, for making your time from your busy schedule. It's an honor and a privilege to have you here on this platform. So today's
My
session
pleasure.
going
My
to be
pleasure to be here. Thank you.
thank you, Asavari. Thank you so much. So today we are going to take this opportunity to ensure that we can dwell a little deeper into all that we can get into the knowledge from Asavari, who is a prominent doctor and who has also helped us to take the initiative on International Women's Day to have the blood check done, especially for all women. So again, on behalf of Digital Fitness Hub, the entire family, we are sorry, thank you so much. So we believe at Digital Fitness Hub, anything that you want to understand, you believe you start with ABC analysis, which is awareness before change. So you should be aware of the things what are there, and only then you can take the corrective measures. So blood test or having yourself getting diagnosed is the first and foremost step. So today when we are going to start this session about how and what are the things that these blood tests and the reports can reveal about your own well-being is the topic all about. When I started this initiative of Digital Fitness Hub, it started with the pains that I have seen in a family. I saw my eye who was very meticulous in getting her blood check done. She never missed out every month. She used to go and have her blood check done and follow meticulously everything that was advised to her. But in spite of that, towards the end of her life, it was very difficult for her to cope up with the changes that should have happened otherwise. Let's take it one on one, where I'll be taking up few questions which has come across a lot of experience and all these years. So taking up one on one, and towards the end we'll keep the session open as well in case if any of the audience wants to have any specific questions. So Asavari, we'll start with the first thing is blood tests are often the first step in diagnosing health issues. They provide a snapshot of key markers like cholesterol, sugar, vitamins, and thyroid function. Could you help us understand what all can these tests help to reveal about the physicality or the parameters here?
Yeah. At the outset, thank you very much, Harshad, Teju, and Neet, and also all the DFH members and mentors and trainers for two very important things. First of all, the initiative that you took on Women's Day is really very commendable. That you thought of, making the women aware about these problems and going proactively to the not just awareness but also having a blood checkup camp. So I'm very happy that many of our members they did come forward and they got the baseline tests done, which are very helpful indicators. So, like the question that you asked, yeah. On another note, personally also, I want to thank all the mentors and trainers for putting things in perspective for me personally and for not giving up when I myself felt like I couldn't do it. So many times I was saying, no, 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 I can't do this, but they never gave up on me. And so here, it's been a wonderful journey of 1 year with DFH. The most important thing which I have learned, if I may share, is mindfulness, which I had not paid much attention to at all. And that's really helping me a lot. And from November, when I really took it up, in the past 5 months, I've been able to lose. I mean, I'd lost 6 kilos, but then in the last 1 month, there were some stresses. And so I've gained a little bit. So I think average around 5 kilos of weight loss. And that is fat loss because I've invested in that healthy scale which you get nowadays, which also gives you the fat and muscle percentage. So I think it's basically a fat loss, and there is a little bit of muscle gain. Let's see how things go. So to your question, Harshad, there are two main reasons why somebody will get tested. One is when you're really ill and you visit a doctor, and those are usually your infectious diseases maybe, or acute conditions, like it could be a fever that you approach them for, or a headache, and then you find a high blood pressure, you would want to check out your kidney function, etc. So these are when you are ill or when you have some symptoms. We are not talking about those whole list of diseases today or list of tests. What we are going to focus on is all the lifestyle related problems that we are facing nowadays in very much they have become quite common. So ideally we should use a blood test. Yeah, so again, a disclaimer, these general health checkups which we all sort of randomly do, 60 parameters, 70 parameters, uh, my personal opinion, not always required to do so many parameters. Maybe just a little focused parameters, and you mentioned four of them, like sugar, lipid profile, or cholesterol. A little bit about your maybe kidney, one or two parameters to help you with your liver function, because it's a misconception that women don't get liver diseases. In India, we are finding that there is a high incidence of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which many of our women are suffering from, and they don't know much about it. Basic underlying cause is obesity only. They have gained weight around the truncal area or their abdomens. And that is also another thing which is very often neglected. We Indians, we have one gene called thrifty gene, and this goes back in evolution. See, in India, we had to face a lot of drought or famine conditions. So as a race itself, as an Indian subcontinent, we have a very problematic gene which makes us to store fat. So that is called as thrifty gene, because tabhi we didn't have any guarantee ki milega ki nahi khana, whatever. So whatever was available was being stored, and that too in the area around the waist. So what we call as truncal obesity, or we call pear-shaped body. So all those are inherent problems of our race, and we have to understand them when we are going in to people like you for weight loss also. So, and I'm very happy that you are basically focusing on the core group of muscles, which is extremely important and very often neglected. So the baseline blood tests, I would say, would be your sugar, your lipids, little bit about your kidney, and two very important tests nowadays which have gained a lot of importance, and they are easily available, are homocysteine and apolipoprotein B. Now these are a little high-end tests, not very expensive, but they tell us about our cardiovascular risk for heart attacks. Now, in women, again, one misconception that women don't get heart attack. See, estrogen, jo hormone hai, that is protective until you have menopause. After menopause, it's equal, in fact, more risk in women because of their other risk factors like obesity, hypertension, which has gone unnoticed for many years. So, estrogen is cardioprotective. It is said it protects the heart. But when estrogen dips in menopause, the risk goes up. So, we have to be aware of that. And on the other side, so these are your lifestyle diseases and your nutritional problems, which are inherent basically because of our diet, eating patterns, maybe. So many communities undergo long periods of fasting. In India, we have a lot of, and at that time, it's very important to pay attention to your nutrition, not just your diet. So
Correct.
there's a inherent tendency to again maybe be deficient in iron, calcium, then your vitamin B12 and D. Another sad part, though we are living in India, such a nice sunny country, unfortunately, Indian genetics is not allowing us to convert too much of that sunlight into vitamin D. We are all dependent on supplementation at least, or our diet has to be very good for it. Or then the other way is that you do strength training, and because there's a close relationship between muscle health, bone health, exercise, and vitamin D, calcium levels. So this has to be really understood very well. And now after COVID, we came to know trace metals, zinc, copper. No need to test in everybody, but sometimes, like if it's the unexplained hair loss, suppose, or sudden graying of hair, or many other such simple things may be there, or repeatedly getting ulcers in the mouth, or on the angle of the mouth you're getting ulcers, or a white patch maybe on the cheek, on the nails. These are all indicators that you might be deficient in something nutritionally. So not just knowing what to test, but also when to test. Okay, you can mark out a day on your calendar, maybe your birthday, where you will do a general health checkup. But otherwise, if you're getting some symptoms or you have a family history of a particular disease, then you can't go on waiting forever. You have to consult somebody and go for those blood tests whenever it is advised or whenever it is required. So these are my takes on this. One more very neglected factor is water intake and fiber intake, which is can't be tested by blood test. You will not know, but it will reflect on many of your other parameters. Cholesterol also is related to fiber intake. Your deficiencies of many nutrients are related to water absorption and fiber intake. So these are some of the very simple things which I can tell you about where a blood test will be required. And many diseases are silent, they don't have any symptoms. So for that once in a year on your birthday or anniversary as a couple, you can go and get tested, but don't do randomly 100 tests. Doesn't tell you much. Do some selected tests after consultation with your general physician. That is what I would
Wow.
recommend.
Perfect, perfect. That's really nice, and especially Dr. Asawari, thank you so much for bringing this on, especially women, as compared to the male counterpart of any species, and more so since we are humans, we are talking about humans. The female bodies are more complex. They are ever changing, and as you rightly said, with changing in your age factors, with changing in the physiology, maybe coming closer to the menopause, post menopause, or even having monthly menstruation and all everything, you need to be more aware about your own things.
Correct.
Periodically you need to do certain tests, could be on a birthday and all, and otherwise you have to be vigilant about the communication your bodies do with you, your
Correct.
skin, like your
Yeah.
skin, everything is trying to
Correct.
establish a communication with your own self. Only if
Correct.
you are vigilant about it and aware about it, that's what you wanted to
Yeah, something like simple as मुंग्या येणे,
correct.
हातापायाला मुंग्या येणे could be an indicator, maybe just of vitamin B12 deficiency, or then if you've been a long-standing diabetic, it could be what we call as glove and stocking kind of paresthesia. We call it like gloves and stocking के area में you're getting tingling. Now
Tingling.
that could be a indicator of neuropathy, म्हणजे complication of diabetes. If you have maintained your blood sugar levels well, or it can be just vitamin B12 deficiency, which can also cause these kind of tingling sensation. So you have to be vigilant, like you said.
Vigilant.
You have to be
Perfect.
very vigilant and understand what your body is telling you.
Absolutely.
Look for the signals. And another thing which can't be measured, unfortunately, Harshad, is stress and sleep. You can't measure what effects it is having. Like ऐसे नहीं है कि शुगर ज्यादा है तो डायबिटीज है, but कोई पैरामीटर ही नहीं है which will tell you that I'm not sleeping well or I'm under stress, other than maybe cortisol levels, which we don't really do so often. But sleep के लिए कोई indicator ही नहीं है that it's going, but it can play havoc with many of your parameters and then lead to a lot of other problems as well. So be vigilant, be calm, composed, and do visit regularly your general physicians if you do get any symptoms, but
Absolutely.
otherwise also do blood tests under their advice. That is what I would recommend.
Perfect, perfect. And we'll be coming that to that point, like just in this movie Three Idiots, आमिर खान
Hmm.
ने वो बताते हैं कि वो इंजीनियर्स ने ऐसे अभी तक मशीन नहीं बनाया है जिससे वो यहाँ का प्रेशर नाप सके, like
Yeah,
especially the stress.
unfortunately.
We are coming to that point, but before that, yes, coming up to this vitamin and mineral deficiencies, more than just supplement issues, deficiencies
Hmm.
in vitamin D, B12, iron, calcium are extremely common, more in women. Many immediately resort to taking supplements. But do supplements alone solve the problem, or is there a deeper issue at play here?
Yeah, yeah. So very nice question, Harshad. Yeah, definitely there are many issues which are at play regarding these common tests, which we call as nutritional deficiencies or deficiencies of vitamins and minerals. One of the issues I already told you about, how good is your fiber content in your diet and water content, because water, without water you can't digest or absorb anything. Your diet may be fantastic, but you are not drinking enough water or not taking enough fiber in the diet, then your absorption and digestion will definitely suffer, and it will not be absorbed into your bloodstream. The other part of the question which you asked was whether just plain supplementation is enough. Now, two, three things. First of all, oral supplements, which we get in the form of over the counter tablets, especially for vitamin B12, they don't work very well because that is not absorbed much in as much as required. It may not be. So now there are dissolvable tablets which are available, which you have to keep under your tongue. So I think it's called Myconeuron or something, one of the trade names. But those are still a little better than the ones which we swallow. Huh?
Mm.
Second thing to remember, just inadvertently taking lifelong vitamin B complex will actually sometimes have some bad effects also on your body. So that supplementation also should not be random, should not be on your own dosage. It should be monitored. And there are very many nowadays we are seeing cases of ulta toxicity of vitamin D, toxicity of B12. So better hai ki if you find a low level, to just tide over that much crisis, okay, you take a supplement, but later you have to do some long term lifestyle modification. Without that, it's not going to be issue which you can't go and take till rest of your life. Though see, vitamin D abhi, like I said, thoda problematic issue hai, we can't make it enough. So once in a month, either the sachet or the tablet which is there once in a month might be required lifelong, especially in the elderly. But otherwise, your lifestyle modifications where you exercise in the sunlight a little
Correct.
more, or you take a diet which is rich in. Another problem could be if you are strict vegetarian, then you have to be very, very more vigilant about the nutritional deficiencies, because even iron and B12 from plant sources is not very well absorbed or very easily absorbed as from animal sources. So if you have meat, eggs, or animal liver, if you can eat, and that is also available as tablets nowadays. You do get liver supplements, but diet modifications under the advice of your
Yes,
uh,
sir.
uh, dietitian or nutritionist. अनदर थिंग नाउ, आयरन का पूछोगे तो जो लोग टी बहुत पीते हैं, चाय बहुत पीते हैं, टैनिन, इट इंटरफियर्स विद आयरन एब्जॉर्प्शन. बीटल लीफ, सुपारी, इंटरफियर्स विद आयरन एब्जॉर्प्शन. तो डाइट अच्छा है, पर और कुछ देर आर सम अदर इश्यूज लाइक दैट. अनदर थिंग, इफ यू ड्रिंक मिल्क इमीडिएटली, if you drink milk immediately after taking your palak ka sabzi, the iron will not get absorbed. So in fact, actually, I always tell my students that palak paneer is a bad combination, because वहाँ पे पनीर भी है और पालक भी है. In fact, उसमें एक you should boil one आवड़ा or put some lemon juice, because vitamin C helps in iron absorption. But milk and some other things may actually retard or inhibit the absorption of iron. So these are all some small minor changes, or you'll have to tweak your diet a little bit and do it. Sprouts, excellent source of very many of the things which we require in the vegetarian part of it. So at least try to eat usad every day. And another thing we have forgotten is cooking in iron vessels. We all want non-stick, so that is also another bad lifestyle change which has happened in our kitchens. All our iron utensils have disappeared, which
Yes.
were a good source of iron actually. So just a simple thing like making, what shall we say, bhasto na pandane, the
Yes.
peanuts and jaggery, that ladu of peanut and
The
jaggery,
laddu and
excellent source of these, iron, etc. But if you are going to make it in non-stick, you are losing out. Another very simple tip, cutting your vegetables and then washing them. Very bad. Wash them before you cut them. Or cooking in pressure cooker. These are vitamins which are water soluble. They're all going out with your whistle. Or,
wow.
they're all going into the sink when you wash your vegetables after you cut them. And we are all guilty of that. Inadvertently, we chop it first, put it in the chani, and then we wash it. वो सब drain में जा रहा है. So these are little small things which maybe your mom, the younger generation should educate the mom now, and all us women, we should be very careful about these, that don't overcook in a pressure cooker. Make sure you're cooking in iron utensils. Wash the vegetables before you actually cut them. Some combinations will hamper the absorptions. Be aware of that. So these are small things
Absolutely,
which you can.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
these are so important, Dr. Asawari. What you have brought forward is, like in case if you ever find yourself deficient of any of these parameters, and then the immediate thing would be go with what your doctor would tell. It could
Yeah.
be with a supplement, but don't resort to the supplement forever. Is what
Yeah.
the message here is. Make the changes at the grassroots levels. To change
Correct.
the fruit, you have to change the roots. And in case
Yes.
just taking supplements, it's like you are just cutting the weeds on of the in the garden. Sooner or later, again they will show up. So to make the changes, you have to go through your lifestyle changes. Second is what like the combinations of any food, because your stomach is also is like a mixer, and if you add different ingredients, the absorption will not happen. In fact, it might add adversely. The medium of cooking is another thing that Dr. Asawari said, and to add to this, okay, in ancient times, our own Bhagavad Gita has had it said, the way you consume your food as well, that is also very important. Along with your food nowadays goes in is the media. In case if you're watching any violent movie, in case if you're not attentive, if in case if you're gossiping while you're having food, believe me, these emotions will also go in. And this is evident when Bhagwan Krishna told Draupadi that in one grain of rice he could feed the entire sages. And this is what the potency of food is. So the emotional content, when you have food, earlier days we used to change the clothes, wash our hands, sit down, and change the state of being before you had food. But nowadays you have the food on the go. So very important points added up, and so many value added up, Dr. Asawari. Thank you so much. Coming up to the next question is cholesterol and heart health, misunderstood indicators. Many women panic when they see high cholesterol levels in their reports. But is cholesterol always a bad thing, or is there a difference between good and bad cholesterol, and that they need to understand?
Hmm. Yeah, so first thing, again, a disclaimer from allopathic point of view. So tests have got little bit of limitations. Okay, all blood tests have got limitations. It's not that they will clearly and always reflect everything that is going on in your body. Second thing to remember, to complete my previous answer, just one or two points, was that if there is an underlying disease, suppose you are finding low iron, but you never ask the woman how much she is bleeding during her menstrual cycle, or how does she have piles. Easy thing. Is there any blood loss in the stools? This can hamper long-term correction of your iron status. Okay, or suppose she has a gallbladder problem, gallbladder stones, very common nowadays, especially in women who are in their 40s and little plump. They may get gallbladder problems. Now, gallbladder secretes a very important substance called bile. That bile is required to emulsify fats, whatever fats you are eating. Some amount of fat you have to absorb, because there are some vitamins which are fat soluble. So if you can't absorb fat, then you can't absorb A, D, E, K, these vitamins. So then it's a problem again. So these are again some underlying things which may affect your nutritional and other status. Coming to cholesterol. Yeah, now this is actually, you can have a seminar on cholesterol, entire topic,
Absolutely.
because there are two conflicting views. Some say that many of these views are pharma driven, that pharmaceutical companies, to push their products, have for the longest time influenced the big lobbies in the United States, which are usually the world leaders. Where whatever they say, we follow. Right. So, in our understanding as Indians, ghee, especially toop, was considered toop from Sanskrit, from Ayurveda. It was considered to be a good kind of fat which you're supposed to have. Another thing which people don't know is, even if you don't intake much of fat, your body is producing fat all the time. Okay, because fat is required. Cholesterol is a very important ingredient of your brain. Without cholesterol, your nerves can't function properly. All right. So the question which you asked is very relevant. Don't be very scared when you see just a total cholesterol which is a little high. The thing you have to focus on is which part of cholesterol. Like you said, is there any good part? Is there any bad? Yes, definitely. HDL, which we call as good cholesterol, goes up by exercise. So exercise is the one thing which you should focus to bring up the good cholesterol, and it will remain high. And it is it is not circulating in your blood. It is going quietly and sitting in the organs where it's required, that
Mhm.
HDL cholesterol. So it's not harming your arteries. So you're not getting strokes and heart attacks. See, brain stroke and heart attack, same mechanism. Only the blood vessels are being lined by cholesterol, either in the brain or in the heart. So now this bad cholesterol is LDL cholesterol. हाँ, तो इसके लिए मैं previously I mentioned two other indi parameters, homocysteine and lipoprotein B. So I want to talk a little 1 minute about that, and coming back to cholesterol. See, homocysteine का क्या है? Homocysteine is related to your vitamin B12 levels. So when vitamin B12 levels are low, then homocysteine goes up. What does homocysteine do? Homocysteine causes clots in your blood. So then it increases your risk for brain stroke and heart attack. Okay, this is one thing. So pure vegetarians who are not, like for instance, vegans who are not even consuming milk, eggs, nothing, they might be deficient in B12. तो उनके लिए supplements को कोई, there is no other way than supplements for them. These kind of people who are not, for some religious reason, for cultural reasons, who are not able to eat certain foods which are going to give them vitamin B12. This is one. And it is a very important risk factor, especially in lean people. You know, अपना वो भी एक misconception है that only obese people have heart risk और
Correct.
स्ट्रोक रिस्क, थिन पीपल डोंट हैव. नहीं नहीं, ये गलत है. अंदर क्या है, व्हाट इज विसरल फैट, हाउ मच इज योर लाइनिंग ऑफ योर arteries, difficult to make out from outside. So that is a problem there. We should address that. My second thing was apolipoprotein B. ये जो molecule है, it is going to circulate the bad cholesterol, the LDL cholesterol. So जब it remains in circulation, it will go and sit in the arteries, and it will make the arteries very hard. So when the arteries become hard, that is the time, and plus the risk for blood clotting because of this homocysteine maybe, then you will get a high incidence of either stroke or heart attack. And women have equal risk after menopause. So let us not be just, in a misconception that only men suffer from these diseases. Women also do get, because estrogen, which was very protective for our bones and our heart, it suddenly drops at menopause. So that is a problem. There are many vegetable sources of estrogen, which are called phytoestrogens, which we must focus on, especially soya. Soya is an extremely good source. We should at least try to add soya to our diets. We can soya bean leke. There is a right now I'm not getting the exact proportion, but wheat flour me. If you put soya
Soya
beans
chunks.
while you are grinding it, your chapati itself will give you the enough phytoestrogen, and what the good things from soya will be, without changing much the taste. Also, it will not affect taste much. So this is one small modification which we can try, adding soya chunks to our chapatis, or fortified kind of wheat flour. So there is a good cholesterol which increases with exercise. It does not increase the risk of any diseases. There are some bad cholesterols. Triglycerides is another one which goes up due to all your peanuts, or excessive fried foods, etc. That is also slightly a worrisome kind of molecule. And on the other hand, the point which I was making is, just cholesterol high is not, can't be just equated like that, that it is the only risk factor for
Correct.
heart disease. There are many other things which will come into play. And again, the importance of exercise, stress, and sleep. I cannot talk enough about this. We are just not sleeping enough, I think, all of, and
Absolutely.
quality of sleep is really going down. That is also affecting all our systems. We must focus on that as well.
No, very well said, Dr. Asawari here. There is always a symbiotic relation. Like just in
Yes.
nature, there is symbiotic means you are connected with a lot of intricacies. So to say, we
Yeah.
are one of the beautiful creations of the Almighty or science, whatever you believe in. But then with this model that you are there are a lot of intricacies. Just like a beautiful machine could be a F1 car. It comes with a
Hmm.
lot of systematic things. If you want to have the optimum use of that machine, you should understand the machine first. And there are so many
Correct.
technicalities here. But don't you be worried here. It's going to be as simple. Bottom line will come down to that bottom line where how it can be made it easy for you to understand all these things. Maybe I'm also not a doctor. I don't understand maybe many of the terminologies. But as a coach and a trainer into fitness, especially the belly fat, as what Asawari said as well, just being lean does not mean you are foolproof, or you are not, never going to indulge into getting closer coming to a heart attack or stroke. There are many
Yeah.
things which go inside, and a blood check is one of the ways to do it. Also, what Dr. Asawari said was about sleep. When we talk about sleep, it is not only the intrinsic sleep, but also the rest. Because many a times we have seen, Dr. Asawari, that today's world, when people want to take up health measures, they take up
Hmm.
one activity, they get married to that activity and keep on doing the same activity over and over again. For example, let's talk about simple thing like walking. Now with
Hmm.
Fitbits and digitization that has happened, you'll go on counting, I walked 5,000 steps today, tomorrow I'll make
10,000
it
steps.
10,000, 15,000, 20,000, thinking that they are doing better. But what I would like to ask you here is, without the proper rest or change in the pattern, is there any possibilities of overdoing an exercise and increasing the cortisol levels into the bloodstream? Does that happen?
Definitely. Definitely. First of all, let me compliment you, Harshad. You really put everything very much in nice context with examples. It's really a very good knack which you have.
Thank
So
you.
you make it easy to understand for everybody. Yeah, definitely. This point is to be noted. Many times nowadays we are seeing gym people, collapsing in the gym
Yes.
so often on the treadmill and whatever, even while running marathons.
Yes.
Recently, one of our classmates was on a trek who felt that he is very fit and overdid a little bit of the altitude as well as the amount of endurance required for that. So all these hill marathons, cycling for very long distances, and just putting your body under a lot of stress. I feel, in my opinion, also it is counterproductive. You should be very well trained for it, and there has to be adequate periods of rest between your this very very hectic activities. I definitely do believe that, because otherwise we are seeing a lot of harmful effects of that in young population especially. And again, there is FOMO in that, that if that one is doing it, then I have to also do. No fear of missing out. So understand your body, what are your limits, what are your and you can challenge your limits, but with proper guidance. Don't do it on your own, just haphazardly decide suddenly that you want to run or cycle. It will have non-beneficial effects. That's the only thing I
Absolutely.
can say.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
here's what,
without.
like a simple example here was the British cycling team. While like couple of years ago, while the British cycling team never won in 10 decades, 100 years, they had not won a single medal for their country. There came
Hmm.
a coach, and he said that I will get your country a medal, a gold medal, within 5 years. And this
Hmm.
man, a coach who came there, he proved it wrong by delivering this gold medal in 3 years. The changes
Hmm.
that he made was he did not make the cyclist cycle. In fact, he reduced the cycling time and put them
Hmm.
into other ways. Like he put them into rest, he gave them into other exercises of upper body strengthening, and
Right.
this is what gave them the efficiency level increase, in fact. So
Hmm.
it answers this question, like thank you, Asavari.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So the next thing is blood sugar, the silent rise of insulin and resistance. So anything about blood sugar here? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we all know that India is the, hub of, we are in the sort of a pandemic stage for diabetes. Could be related to that again, that metabolic syndrome, which we all have because of our genetics. And we all know that diabetes is multifactorial. It's not just related to genes or anything. There are many factors at play. Before, going to just a rise in blood sugar levels, before that, many signals are given to your body that there may be altered what we call as glucose tolerance. So just a little bit of rise in blood sugar, which is within the limits of normal range. Yeah, another point I want to make, which will help us to understand our blood results very clearly, is always a reference range is given. And who derives these reference ranges? Unfortunately, most of the studies have been based out of the West. Okay, so we are following books which are written by Western authors. Many of the reference ranges are available to us from a large population of Western, population. So right now we are still doing a lot of research in India, and we are trying to modify all these reference ranges too. So don't stick on a parameter. It is not like 100 marks out of 100 means A plus in a test. This is not a test where you have to, go by that point, how much was the value. It will go on fluctuating every day. It will go on fluctuating in a single day, day to day as well. In the morning, the value may be different. Afternoon, the value may be different. So blood tests are to be taken as a one of the parameters for diagnosing anything. So it has to be a holistic approach where you look at the entire patient. Unfortunately, we are playing too much, paying maybe importance given on a particular value. Okay, so it may not always be a good practice to only focus on the values. You must take into consideration the entire patient. Okay, so this is one point. And secondly, blood sugars go on rising very slowly. They go on varying during the day, and after food they will be higher because you've eaten something, and then that will lead to your insulin spike after you've eaten. That will help you to again lower the blood sugar because it goes into the organs where it is required. So sugar which is circulating in the blood is of no use to you. It's not being used by your cells. Only when it enters in the cells it gives energy to the cells. This is the concept which we must remember. And therefore, insulin, which plays a very important role, there are many things in our lifestyle nowadays which are linked to something called as insulin resistance. So that is your one step or two steps before going in for full blown diabetes. And because we are talking about lifestyle, I'm talking about type 2 diabetes, not about type
Correct.
1, which is seen in children, which is unfortunate that they don't have enough insulin at all. They can't make insulin. But the rest of us who are good enough to make insulin, we have a problem that because of truncal obesity, maybe because of genetics, maybe because of our hypertension, which was there for a long time, just plain obesity, very high, body mass index. These are some of our underlying causes nowadays, which are very common, like PCOD. And I think I have heard last year's Women's Day topic was PCOD, and it was a wonderful discussion with your gynecologist members. So this is again a very important. So stress, lifestyle, PCOD, your obesity, your eating patterns, all is related to resistance. And if insulin resistance develops, what happens? Your cells are not listening to insulin. So they are not allowing sugar into the. So insulin is a key which opens the door. जब दरवाजा खुलता है तो sugar goes into the cell. So blood sugar goes down, and the cells can utilize that sugar for energy. If this is not happening, चाबी तो घूम रही है, insulin है, but दरवाजा ही नहीं खुल रहा है. That is insulin resistance. And that has many intricacies, but the easiest ones I've told you, maybe genetics, just obesity, PCOS, or underlying conditions which can cause insulin resistance. And that is at that point, only your HbA1c might go on rising a bit, sugars might be borderline. So follow it up properly. Otherwise, you might miss. So this phase is called as pre-diabetes. And then you'll end up with the actual very high blood sugars where we classify them as type 2 diabetics.
Wow.
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. That's a very nice explanation as a lock and key. Like when
Yeah.
you're trying to open the cells with the key, but it is
Mm.
not getting
They
the
don't open
results.
the door.
Yeah, and it is
They
shut
don't
down.
open.
And especially when we are talking about women here, once a woman shut down the door, it is very hard to open it up, isn't it? How many of you believe that, right? Whether it is in relationship or anything, they are very sensitive. Now, one way to do is I would like to ask here is something we follow into calisthenics is known as, or into fitness training is specific adaptation of the imposed demand. If there is a
Mm.
demand, if you put a demand, it will start opening up. And to open up these cells on the muscular level for the energy and all, resistance
Mm.
training becomes very
Mm.
intrinsic. And again,
Mm.
resistance training, of course, it's a different topic altogether. But here I would like to point it out that it need not be with weights external. You're on planet Earth, you already have some gravity here.
Gravity.
You most of the times have a little bit more of weight. Make use
Mm.
of it for resistance training so that you can train the muscles to demand that thing. And once that is there, maybe the key, which you are saying it's not opening up, can slightly help out open up the cells where it goes into energy and it can start reversals. Is that right?
See, yeah. See, because very nice points which you brought out. Until I joined DFH, I was not at all aware, very frankly, being a doctor also, that going to a gym or using weights per se is not really required. You can use your own body weight, which is again a new thing for me over the past 1 year, a shift in my understanding as well. And very important point which you brought out is, see, muscles utilize sugar much better. Muscles utilize sugar in a much better way than fat. So you have to just convert your body weight from fat into muscle, and you will
Muscles.
be very good energy efficient machine to utilize sugars. And then all carbohydrates which are not needed, that means all sugars which you don't need, are again converted into fat and stored. So either glycogen or then fat. Now that is again a vicious cycle which will go on increasing your insulin resistance. So now we have had a tremendous shift in our understanding of balanced diet. हमारा understanding था that Indian plate, so much of there was glorification of this whole thali, what Indian thali was. But उसमें if you observe, carbs बहुत high है. It's too high in carbs. There is either two or three chapatis. There's a big mound of rice and one vati of dal which is watery and maybe little bit of sabzi and koshimbir. This is not going to work. No, you have to up this, and we have to understand that our thali now has to be divided into four parts
Yes.
straight away. Only one fourth can be carb. The rest of it has to be proteins, fiber, your fresh fruits, vegetables, and dal especially.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this shift we must make, and that might improve our insulin and sugar metabolisms a lot.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you, Dr. Asawari, for bringing it on. And also, especially when we are, this program is specifically for women.
Yeah.
Resistance training is not equivalent to bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is
Bodybuilding.
aesthetic.
Yeah.
Okay, if
Correct.
you see, as a species, none of the even men were so hugely built as what you see today. For example, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he took 9 years to build that aesthetic body, showcase body. But while if you see Bruce Lee, who was a lean machine,
Hmm.
and he's considered as one of the strongest. So even if you indulge into lean self body weight training, you
Body
will
weight
not be
training.
becoming like a muscular man kind
Hmm.
of a thing. While it will
Hmm.
only strengthen your muscles, it will strengthen your bone density, reduce your fat, and this is what it's all about. But you should again understand this very intrinsically. So
Yeah,
thank you,
another
Asawari.
thing, Harshad. Yeah, another thing, Harshad. You're making a very important point for women because women are very scared to do strength training or resistance training, feeling that I will become muscular.
Muscular. Correct.
I will start looking like a man. It's not true, first of all. And secondly, unless you do resistance or strength training, first of all, glucose metabolism and muscle तो हमने बात किया अभी, but the other thing is जितना आप मसल स्ट्रेच करोगे और जितना आप बोन को मसल पुल करेगा, only then you can maintain good levels of calcium and vitamin D in your
Absolutely.
body. Otherwise, your bones are going to become very porous and brittle. And then you get a fracture just if you sit down also very forcefully, you're getting fractures. Osteoporosis is a very important problem. So many of our ajis we have seen who become so much bent, later on after menopause and in their 60s because we are not focusing on, we are too much focused on cardio training, either walking or just cycling, whatever. Cardio is important, yes, but this is also equally important, that point. And I'm happy that DFH is rotating per day, per week, everything, so that you're taking care of all aspects
Thank
of
you,
that.
thank you, thank you for that thing here, Asawari. Thank you so much. Very shortly, we have covered almost most of the thing is also covered here. One final thing is thyroid, which is
uh,
nowadays seen as a
yeah.
very like on the rise.
Hmm.
Anything that you want to share on thyroid, especially
Yes,
in women?
yes.
Yes.
Yes, we all know that the more you go away from sea level, the more chances of getting thyroid problems. Okay, because iodine in the uh, soil reduces as you go away from sea levels. So our government has done a very good job of fortifying our salt, but still we are eating iodized salt, all of us, but still we are seeing quite a high number of thyroid issues. The one of the things could be related again to our diet. Some of the vegetables which we eat, especially say cabbage, is supposed to be goitrogenic. It causes thyroid problems. Okay, so if you're going to eat a lot of these vegetables which are goitrogens, that then you can get that. So iodine deficiency, some goitrogenic diets, and third important thing which we are not focusing on much, or we may not be aware of, many Indian women suffer from autoimmune. So your own body is fighting your thyroid, and then it reduces the function of that thyroid gland. So enough thyroid is not being made. How to read that report is also very important. T3, T4, TSH kya hai? So when T3 are low and TSH is high, that is hypothyroid. And opposite, if T3, T4 is high but TSH is low, that is a hyperthyroid. Both these are disorders, and that could be because of some other problem in the thyroid, not just iodine deficiency. So we have some special extra tests which your doctor may tell you about, and then you will have to do them. So improve your diet, use iodized salt, but also focus on, and for thyroid, unfortunately, there is not much that you can do. If you're deficient in thyroid, you will have, if you're hypothyroid, you will have to go on the pill for your lifelong. There is no particular, say, a lifestyle modification that I am aware of, which will help you in that. There are some naturopathy medicines or other things which are being tried, but I'm not very well aware of what are their effects on the human body. But as far as hypothyroidism, we will have to put the woman on L-troxin. There's no other way. And then again, that affects her lipid levels, her triglyceride, cholesterol levels, sugar levels, even her hypertension might, blood pressure might fluctuate, weight might fluctuate. There might be hair loss, skin texture loss, feeling too much hot or cold, again, emotional, some instabilities, all this will go
Absolutely.
on. Mm.
Here, what I
Yeah.
would like to bring it on is, the dichotomy of control. This is a
Okay.
virtue which has been stated by, like Stoic principles. Marcus Aurelius, ancient times, our Bhagavad Gita has said it, and different religions or philosophers have said it again. The dichotomy of control. There are two controls. One which is not under your control. In case
Mm.
you are ever come across some parameters where are which are not under your control, like maybe like thyroid, but
Mm.
maybe like you leave these things to the greater forces. But then
Mm.
there is something called as dichotomy of control where certain parameters are there in your control. Maybe for the sake of it, start making changes which are under your control. The way you
Yeah.
think, the way you eat, the way you rest, the way you
Yeah.
sleep, the way you like live your 24 hours. And at least this is purely under your control. What is under your control, exercise it 100%. What is not under your control, of course, there are greater forces where science is still not able to answer many of the questions. Okay, so
Definitely.
we have seen pandemics. The recent one was the COVID, which was out of the purview of everything what a human race had understood. So at least what's there under your control, start living it. So thank you for bringing that thing up. Almost the last question here is, we talked about the stress and hormonal imbalances. Uh, what measures, do you think that stress can have on a person, the emotional and mental stress?
Yeah.
The thing what we started with, which you cannot gauge. There is no evidence where you can go and gauge, because see, you can start with measuring your body weight. You can step on a weighing scale and measure your body weight. What you
Hmm.
cannot measure is the weight that you are carrying here and here, right? Just before this session, I don't know.
Until it has some effect on you, either a
Exactly.
stroke or a heart attack, and then you come to know that you were under a lot of stress.
So do this can change the parameters. For example, as Dr. Asawari, I have had my
Yeah.
blood check today, but say
Yeah.
something happens in my life which actually triggers a lot of emotional imbalance. Can that change the parameters in your blood and all these parameters just in a nick of time? Does that happen,
Yes,
doctor?
yes, definitely. Yes, yes. There are a lot of studies which say that being under stress will affect a lot of your blood parameters. Blood sugar definitely will go up with stress. Even your cholesterol levels can go up with stress. It could be linked to stress overeating as well. Could be one of the parameters. Blood pressure definitely varies with stress. Blood pressure is clear-cut indicator that um, you know blood pressure and stress are very easily directly correlated. And the stress hormone which we have in our body, which is called cortisol, again, for the understanding of that, we have to go back in evolution. This hormone was actually, it's called as fight or flight response. When we were hunter gatherers during evolution, we have evolved certain mechanisms that if a danger is, we are facing something which is larger than us. So take the example of those mammoth elephants which were there, or dinosaurs, whatever may be. If we are facing that, then we are going to run away from it. So flight is important. So our muscles should work harder. So more of sugar is going to the muscles. You are sweating. Your heart rate is very high. All this is manipulated by hormones. Against that, if you are faced with an animal or a danger which is smaller than yourself, you are going to fight it. So you are going to hunt a rabbit or a deer. Again, at that time, something should happen in your body that was called as the fight response. These are all nicely tuned in by certain hormones. अभी हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? What are our current fight or flight responses? So whenever we are faced with our boss, you can say that it's going to be a flight response, or an examiner, a teacher, somebody who's taking Viva exam. we are going to run away from it. But if it is somebody subordinate or simple things, I'm scared of crossing the road, for instance. So if I have a lot of traffic, that might cause
Trigger
me,
that.
trigger that hormone, and then I will overcome my fear and I will still cross the road. So I will fight it. So for these manipulations, previously what was there were many periods of rest in between this. So once stress hua, you went back to your cave maybe and you recovered from it. You're going out the next day. Till then, you are very happily sitting there with your group or your family. In today's life, we are just not giving ourselves enough time for our parameters to come back to normal. So that लवचिकता जी म्हणतात आपल्या इमोशन्स मधली फ्लेक्झिबिलिटी, not just in your muscles, in your mind also. Something is not going according to you, what you had decided. You are so rigid that it's affecting you. It's causing your blood pressure to rise, it's causing your blood sugar to rise. So these are parameters which are under our control, which we should be. And therefore meditation or just quiet, mindfulness is going to help you a lot. That you can't get everything the way you want, so you have to learn to overcome those periods of stress. Otherwise your hormone levels are going to go sky high and they're going to have a very detrimental effect on all your systems later on. So in women particularly, we have seen blood pressure, diabetes going up, menstrual irregularities going up because of stress-related problems, definitely, and ovarian function, fertility is affected by
Yes.
stress. Being able to conceive is related to, and we have a in our many of our gynecologist friends will say that IT culture, what we call, working for 12 hours, being continuously so over ambitious that we are working 12 15. So husband ka khatam hota hai night duty, he comes home, then wife leaves for 12 hours. There is no interaction, human interaction at all, and continuously under a lot of stress. It's affecting many parameters in our body, and these are some of the ones which we have. And the long term effects we don't even know yet. What might be the long term effects? We are still trying to figure out, what we are doing to our bodies. As of now, we must be aware that women should have some me time, some periods of rest
Absolutely.
between their entire, stressful days. Otherwise, it's
Absolutely.
going to have
Absolutely.
detrimental effects on their.
Absolutely.
And for lifestyle modification, Harshad, or a point which we are not really, paying much attention to, just a simple modification. हम लोग oil बहुत, we are using it for refrying. वो we keeping it, then again we will तळणीची कढई म्हणजे ती
I
वर्षा आठवडे न आठवडे ती तशी असते. We are reusing that oil. Very bad for,
absolutely,
because it's
absolutely,
increasing the saturated fats. It's not at all
absolutely.
good. So हम लोग पिज्जा और इसको बोल रहे हैं कि इट्स जंक फूड. समटाइम्स हम घर में भी बना रहे हैं जंक फूड
Absolutely.
बाय रीयूजिंग ऑयल, और फोकसिंग अ लॉट ऑन चिवड़ा लाडू. चिवड़ा लाडू इज ऑल्सो जंक फूड ओनली, बट इंडियन है इसलिए ओके चलता है, आई ईट दैट. It is also equally bad as chips, if you ask me, and
Absolutely.
pizza.
So
So
thank
this
you.
we have to,
That's
remember a little bit. And
that's
we never taught our children that for snacking you should use carrots or cucumbers. कभी नहीं बोला. On our tables we have never kept fresh fruit sliced or fresh vegetables. Ki when you feel hungry to snack,
absolutely,
you have to do this. Unfortunately, we've
absolutely.
always kept dabba of chiwda and ladu there.
So
So this
this
is
is
one of,
absolutely what we preach here is very
yeah.
important is I am a professional motorcycle rider. I just finished my Andaman ride. But just to tell you, when we are riding, we are so much worried about our machines. You know, like
Hmm.
science
Hmm.
has put in more efforts which vehicle should have which oil because the
Hmm.
viscosity, the thickness, and the flash point, which is a burning point in every vehicle depending on the performance varies. When we have put in
Yeah.
so much of thought process on vehicles and you are so much worried because if you want to put any engine oil in your vehicles just for the reason because it is an expensive vehicle, you will go with the grade that the OEM or original equipment manufacturer has told. But when it comes
Hmm.
to your own healthy cooking,
But,
you have never thought about it. Each oil, it is liquid engineering. Each oil will have different flash points, which means
yeah.
where the oil starts to get into trans fats. And
Yeah.
this will add up to the worsening. It is like a dirty engine oil that you're putting into your own system. It will
Correct.
clog your arteries, just like it clogs your
Hmm.
spark plug of your vehicle, which will give
Yes.
you not good rides. So this is what happening. It's very important, Asawari. So thank you so much for bringing that on.
और एक है माइक्रोवेव कुकिंग. It's releasing microplastics in your whole system because we are using plastic containers to cook in the microwave. That is releasing tiny particles of
Of
plastic
plastic.
when you are consuming it, thinking it's safe. So a sea change has to happen in our thinking. And I read a very nice book. I would recommend it to all of you. It's an old book, but it's I keep reading it. माझा साक्षात्कारी हृदय रोग नावाचं एक पुस्तक आहे. It's by a doctor called Dr. Abhay Bang, who does
Okay.
a lot of community service in Gadchiroli and those districts with tribal people. And he thought that he's living a very wonderful, balanced life. But when he suffered a heart attack,
Yes.
then he rethought his basically the cooking methods, what they were using. So right now we have a very good option with cold press oils, which are supposed to be better than your other refined oils, definitely. So let's switch to that at least as one step. Try using coals. And in that book itself, he has mentioned that a family should buy not more than 800 ml of oil per person per month,
Absolutely.
maximum 1 liter. So if you're a family of five, you cannot buy more than 4 liters of oil for the entire month. And the
Absolutely.
same with sugar, he has said, how much should you buy? Barely 2 teaspoons of sugar per day is required. Sugar was not there only in our diet,
Absolutely.
really. It's a if you read no you this Harari's book Homo sapiens पे जो book है, sugar is a recent
Not there.
addition to our.
Absolutely.
We don't need sugar. We can make our own sugar. But we are
Absolutely.
adding sugar into anything. It's just आपल्या जिभेचे चोचले आपल्या बॉडीला काही गरज
Absolutely,
नाही.
absolutely. So Asawari, thank you so much. And just to sum it up here, like the snacking thing, I have a small farm here where I went and we grow sweet potatoes. And when I
Oh
went
yeah.
there, I saw the small children, the village children, like they took the sweet potatoes right out the soil, just dusted out the mud, and they started eating it raw. And I was like, raw? How are you eating that? And then it correlated. If you see bisons who have one of the strongest muscles, pure vegetarians, but they snack on sweet potatoes. But what we do is again, so point here to sum it up is cooking is very important. To, like the microwave oven ad was there to change the way you look. You should change the way you cook, right?
Cook.
So, yes, absolutely. So those we are going to cover it up with these sessions from Digital Fitness App, which will be getting you a series for the day. It was an amazing session, Dr. Asawari. And like before we sum up and open up for the question and answers, one thing I would like to ask you is your journey of achieving that 6 kgs fat
Yeah,
loss.
yeah,
Okay, if you could
yeah,
just
yeah.
throw light on that.
Yeah. So, and I'm not to say this just because I'm on their platform. I just want to say that Harshad knows from the age of at least 28 or 30, immediately after I had my daughter, I joined a particular gym and I started going, and he was also in that same gym. My journey has been for past 20, 25 years, what I've been. It's a yo-yo. It's like a yo-yo phenomenon. I lose weight. I start feeling very good about myself, and then it rebounds because maybe I'm not consistent enough, or I lose interest in that either. And I've done everything. I have done fat diets. I have done extremely strict, very, very, time restricted eating with calorie restrictions. Everything I have tried, but it always rebounds. And then I was thinking, and he gave me a lecture. I mean, on not a lecture, I won't call it a lecture. He gave me a suggestion that, see, don't make DFH also. One has been, I've tried that also. तो ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए. And I'm very happy to say that I'm consistently losing weight. The most important difference, what I found, is the motivation which they give you on your one-to-one. All I have tried personal trainers also. I won't even one-on-one sessions have been there, but it hasn't been probably so scientifically curated. That is my first thing. And from my side, the mistakes which were happening were once I've lost weight, I sort of either get very bored of it because it's repetitive, doing the same thing, or I rebound that okay, abhi to ho gaya and now I can go back to my previous lifestyle. So that's not going to happen. This has to be a core decision. What is important for you? And if it is, and so many wonderful people I see out here who are part of your community, who are doing fabulous things, and just reading about that or understanding about that is also highly motivational. So I think now, and maybe my age has also, I've reached a particular age where it's easier to follow. I don't know. But mindfulness and very often now I find myself reducing the things from my plate, which was never happening before. म्हणजे it is like a big change I can see in myself की अरे नाही एवढं नको आपल्याला नाही many times you just overserve yourself. So I have, and leftovers I don't eat them at all just to finish something what I was doing. अरे एवढंच राहिलंय खाऊन टाकू. That is one thing I don't do. And I've very mindfully reducing the things from my plate which I don't need, and focusing on a good diet. And I said it on my bite also, which Neet took, that the main difference which I find with DFH is it's not that I get completely drained out of my energy. Then I used to come home from the gym and hog because I'm so tired and absolutely drained. In fact, I feel more energetic after I do the rituals, whichever are there. So mindfulness, I think, is the most change which has occurred. Whatever has caused it, whether the reading or that all the rituals which you tell us about, could
Absolutely.
be. Thoda subconsciously it must have affected. And let me be very very frank, मैंने सिर्फ 50% दिया है मेरी तरफ से motivate. Still 50% I'm going to give now in the next year is what I feel. To completely 180-degree change will has not happened, but consistently, and I have not regained that in the past. Now
Absolutely.
still 6 months I'm able to continue that level of exercise and that much of diet. Another thing which I tried, and also Neet and Teju also, they encouraged me for, I always knew about intermittent fasting, but I'm doing it more with a lot of effort, that I have to do it, because sometimes when you're socializing or something, you tend to go a little overboard. But when it's really time restricted, and I'm very used to it now, so even if somebody offers me something in the morning, I find it fair enough to refuse. I'm not tempted by it.
You did that. You did that. That was very evident. I was the happiest when you came
Without
to
your
the
help it
studio.
wouldn't have been possible.
And you did not
Shaurika is smiling there.
refuse to have that. So nothing. I was
Yeah,
there standing in the corner, and with pride, I used to look. Okay, I have made my. Like I could see my results there. Like when you refuse,
yeah,
saying no is a good
yeah,
thing at times.
yeah.
So Asawari, thank you so much. And it all boils down to
Thank
this
you.
one Lao Tzu statement that I would like to make, and then we'll open it up for the question answers quickly. We'll
Yeah.
take a couple of them. So first of all, thank you, Dr. Asawari, for investing your valuable time in such a
Arey,
informative
my
session.
pleasure. My pleasure. Anytime. Anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the
Thank you.
changes, so for everybody, all the audience here, thank you for being here until the end. So remember one thing: if you want to change your destiny, I always found out how do you change your destiny. So this is what Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher, came up. Just remember the sequence, okay? Watch the way you think. Your thoughts become your words. Watch your words because your words become your actions. Watch your actions, that becomes your habits. Watch your habits, that becomes your character. Watch your character, that becomes your destiny. So, in between your destiny or your goal, it starts with the right thought process. So in between is the journey called as life. So watch your thoughts, and that will make you achieve anything in life. Be it on any medical reversals, it is possible. Only if you believe it is possible. So thank you, Dr. Asawari. It's been indeed so many hours here together. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. We will open up the session for question and answers. In case the team, if you could help us out. Okay, Smita wanted to ask, I want to ask about BP level management, the blood pressure. Is that right, Teju?
Yes, yes, right.
Yes.
Okay, so blood pressure, not my field, but whatever basic level I know, I will say that blood pressure is just like diabetes. It is a silent killer, but worse than diabetes, there are not even any symptoms of blood pressure. Many times, a high blood pressure will not cause any symptoms until it has caused a lot of damage to your internal organs like kidneys or something. So it is a silent kind of a disease which goes on, and you get used to it. One more point I want to tell you, people, from the nutritional point of view, even anemia doesn't, our women are very resilient. I've seen women walk in with hemoglobins of 5, 6, and they are nicely climbing stairs and all. For me, even 1 gram drop in hemoglobin, I start getting palpitations. But I don't know, their body adapts and they just get used to it. That is very bad. That will not be picked up unless you go for regular some checkups or something. Similarly, blood pressure monitoring has to be very regular, and unfortunately, definitely your lifestyle. If you lose weight, if you manage your stress, and there is no such thing as stress free life, huh? We are under stress. We have to learn to manage that stress, that it will not harm your body. So you have to manage your intake, salt intake, your stress levels, and weight. So many women who have lost weight have been able to go off their medication for diabetes as well as hypertension, what we are calling now the reversals. So fat loss is extremely important. It reduces your body from secreting some bad substances which are going to have detrimental effects on your blood sugar and blood pressure levels. The question I think which I can see in the chat box is, how do you maintain your blood pressure levels? So these are for lifestyle modifications on one side, and your medication, whichever your doctors might have prescribed. You must never miss a pill for blood pressure. And many or very often we see patients who come and say that my thyroid level is normal now, my blood sugar level is normal now, or my blood pressure is normal, so I don't need the medication. Aisa nahi hai. It's the opposite. Because of the medication, they are normal levels. So do whatever modification in that dose with consultation of your doctor. Don't just आज माझं मी आज गोड खाल्लं नाही, I'll not take insulin. Can't be the answer. Or similarly for blood pressure medication, that and the home monitoring blood pressure kit may not always show you accurate results, and you have to take that in sitting, standing, as well as lying down positions. So it has to be monitored by a proper physician who's doing it.
Harshad, you're muted.
Yeah.
Unmute.
So here the take is what Dr. Asawari was saying is, even if you have blood pressure, lifestyle changes is your forte, the dichotomy of control, what's under your control. But what the doctor has advised, please ensure you keep the doctor in the loop.
For everything there are modifiable, what you're calling dichotomy of control in our medicine, we call it modifiable risk factors and non-modifiable risk factors. Age, gender, genetics, these you can't modify. But other things which are under your control, your diet, your exercise, sleep pattern, managing stress, water intake, fiber intake, all these things will definitely give you good benefits.
Absolutely. And with the changes that happen, do ensure you consult your doctor again and then change into the tablets or whatever prescribed medication it's there. We always tell, because we are not doctors. The doctor is a competent authority here. Do not leave the doctor out of this loop. Get it in consultation. But for long-term changes, if you want to uproot or want to change forever, then go to the lifestyle changes. And and one more word what Dr. Asawari used was fat loss, not weight loss. Many women, especially youngsters, Dr. Asawari would like to bring it here. Youngsters, the college going girls and all, size 0. Just by staying away from food, you will come into a size 0. But that doesn't mean you are healthy.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean
you will become deficient in all these things.
Yes. So it has to be stronger muscles, bones intact, and having the right figure as well. Women, especially the younger girls, could be more worried about how they look. Absolutely okay. But make sure you're made up of the right aspects here.
Yeah.
So that
and
was
for this I always give one example. आपल्या स्वयंपाकघराला एक कोठी असते, कोठी खोली. That is the place where we store everything, right? So whenever extra guests come or somebody comes, your mother is never lost ki abhi kya karu. She always has backup plan there. Something will come out of that koti which she can feed. So your women are faced with every month menstrual cycle, extra need for nutrition during pregnancy, during lactation, all these. So these are part of your journey as a woman. So you must have very good cortically. So how that is going to happen is not by going into these fat diets, by eating a very balanced diet from the early age, even before they start getting their menstrual cycle, so that they have backup plan ready. Whenever there's excessive bleeding, your body already has enough iron to make that much blood. Okay, or it already has the B12 or D to make the that much blood. But if you go on these and absolutely, I agree with you that that craving for size zero, and then following on social media influencers, what are they doing? Is it scientific at all? Nobody is going to, question that. In fact, it's more difficult for a doctor to convince their patients than for social media influencers to have.
Absolutely.
They are having a very good hold on the new generation. Huh? They have
Absolutely.
whatever they say is being followed, which is a little. It will cause some long-term problems for them. They should be aware of that.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Thank you, Dr. Asawari. Thank you so much. Yes, any other questions here, Teju?
Ashwini wanted to know about the hemoglobin
Yes.
levels.
Yeah, so this is a often neglected part of our Indian women, and I told you the increased um, demands which are being placed on women's bodies, and for that reason, most of us are iron deficient. And again, add to that our dietary practices, cultural practices, or the type of cooking that we do, it may be hampering the absorption of iron as well. Or strictly vegetarian or vegan diets may be very deficient in B12. And I was telling you about the B12, B complex pills. Sometimes you observe that she's taking only B complex. That increases the RBC count. To make that many red blood cells, you are utilizing all your iron, and then suddenly you become iron deficient
Oh,
also. So it may go and have a inverse balance sometimes. So always do it in consultation with your physician. They will know your levels. Now, hemoglobin in women should be between 12 to 16 grams per deciliter, we call it. So percent, you can say. 12 to 15%, 16% is a good hemoglobin for women. Unfortunately, most of us are having between 10 to 12.
correct.
If you take a random sample of Indian women, and the commonest cause is all extra menstrual bleeding. And for piles, I want to say that many women feel very embarrassed to go and approach a doctor, but that can cause all the time bleeding into your stools and again a low hemoglobin level. So that is another point to be remembered. Gastritis, just hyperacidity, what we call syndrome, that can also hamper many of the absorptions of iron, vitamin B12. So ideally, we should have between 12 to 16. If it's lower than 12, we call it anemia. Nutrition is the most important cause of anemia, but there are many other causes, especially in areas like Belgaum, where we have consanguineous marriage, something that we call that we can marry our relatives. है
Hmm.
ना? They marry first cousin or mama. That is called a consanguineous marriage. In that, there are many risks of developing low hemoglobin levels because there are some genetic causes of anemias which go up whenever you marry among your own relatives. Okay, so this is also an important point we must keep in mind, and that goes undetected very often until she really becomes. And I told you, Indian women are very resilient. We have seen women walk in with very very low hemoglobin
Correct.
saying that I don't have any symptoms. So keep observing for pallor, pale face or slight lemon yellow tint will come to your skin or your eyes. That is also
Hmm.
a indicator of anemia. Or hair loss, again, menstrual irregular. So menstrual irregularities cause anemia. Anemia cause menstrual irregularities. So it goes hand in hand. Again, observe your bowels. Are you losing blood? Or even during your urination, if you are repeated urinary infections or a stone in the kidneys or the urinary bladder, that also might be affecting your hemoglobin levels. You'll have to keep a watch on that.
Perfect.
And then there's one more question, I think, about HbA1c levels. So as of now, we have said that less than 6 percent HbA. What is HbA1c? When your blood sugar level rises, that sugar has a tendency to go and attach to any protein that it finds. So hemoglobin is a protein. So this is called glycosylation of protein. So we measure that to tell you how well you have observed your or controlled your blood sugar for the past 3 months. Why? Because RBCs live for 120 days. That is their lifespan. So that is how it's correlating with 3 months of control in your blood sugars. So this HbA1c levels less than 4.5 are excellent. Less than 5 also is very good. And these again, these values which I tell you, sugar, cholesterol, HbA1c values, don't take it as the indicator because two things. One, it will vary with your day to day and your activities. Secondly, as research advances or as some new things come into, the parameters will also change. So then you will be very angry or disappointed that, Arey, they told me ki itna rakhna hai, but now they are saying. So recently they modified, no, for HbA1c, they have modified that up to the age of say 60 or 70, you can go up to 7% also
Okay.
HbA1c. So from 6, they have raised it. Same with blood pressure. Huh? They might, so the American Hypertensive Association or the Heart Association, Diabetes Association, they keep modifying the values. So let's not take it as Dagdavarchi Resh. It is not a Dagdavarchi Resh. It is subject to change based on more research or your body type or anything. So this is to be remembered. But ideally, we should keep it under control, HbA1c levels, and doses of your medications are modified by HbA1c levels, not by day-to-day sugar levels. Because sugar may be 100 in the morning. If you don't eat anything, by the time you come to the lab at 12 o'clock, it will go down to 60. So your doctor is not going to depend on the day-to-day sugar values. They are more interested in HbA1c for dose modification. But for control of diabetes, like every month, they may ask for just a blood sugar level, and once in 3 months, they will ask for a glycosylated hemoglobin level. So this is your understanding of HbA1c right now, as it
Perfect,
stands
perfect,
in the.
perfect, perfect. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for that, making this note again and again. You being yourself a doctor, then too, these parameters which are given, the
Yeah,
values,
they keep
they
on
are,
changing.
I mean, like you don't have to, but there are certain things. These are any which ways values. And then you
Mm.
need to be, previously, like olden days, clinical observation, how the doctor observes you,
Mm.
your skin, your
Yes.
eyes, and everything.
Yeah,
That is
yeah, yeah.
also very important. So the clinical
Very important.
observation along with your like threshold numbers is what Dr. Asawari wants to share a message here. Perfect.
Yes.
Any other questions here, team?
Yeah.
They want to know that whether we can organize any sessions on perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah, you
Me-
have many gynecologists on your panel, so you can ask them once more for
Yes.
perimenopause and menopause. I can talk definitely for say 10-15 minutes about blood parameters and other especially pap smear, very important, which we didn't focus at all, which is very important for women, and breast self-examination that I
Yes.
can take up. But regarding all the changes in the body, maybe we can have a gynecologist also on the panel for
Absolutely.
perimenopause or menopause.
Absolutely, absolutely. Certainly, certainly. The main essence for this kind of webinars is for you to take advantage. Okay, and this is all for all of you, whether you are there today on live session or you would be watching this, the recorded one. Please do pause, take a little bit of time to understand your own physiology, especially women and girls. Compared to the male counterpart, I always say that when I see a woman who is healthy, who is showing up properly, it's a matter of respect. Reason is her body is ever changing. And this is a message for all the men alike here. Please understand that a woman's body is much more complex than a man's body. So appreciate that, give respect to it, also be very vigilant. You can be always, like at times she's so busy in treating everyone else. How many of you women here agree that you live your life 110% for others first, and then भी कुछ भी बच जाता है तो you may think about yourself. How many of you agree with that, including
Yeah.
Dr. Asawari? You live your life for others. Okay,
No, no,
that's
it's
a,
time to remember that self-love is not selfishness.
absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
Taking
It's
off
not self.
that me time,
And
what
unless your own cup is full, you can't pour for anybody else. So make
abs-
sure your cup is full. So before you give to anybody else.
so this
Message
always
to.
I always tell in my sessions, like look at that air hostess. She knows her job well. She always tell before दूसरे को ऑक्सीजन मास्क पहनने से
हाँ,
पहले
खुद पहनो.
खुद का
Correct.
ऑक्सीजन मास्क पहनो. That will make it easier because you are the
Correct.
foundation of a family. A woman,
Yes.
be it a mother, a wife, a sister, whoever, whatever role you are playing, multiple roles, you are the foundation. You are the roots. In case if you understand this topic properly, then you will make up the changes into your family. So today's
Mm.
session was amazing. So I think these are
Thank you.
questions. Many more will be there, but we'll have these sessions organized. For the
Yes.
moment, Dr. Asawari, it's an honor and a privilege. You came on this platform, and this was an excellent, excellent, enriched session, what I would say. And for all the viewers here, one thing you remember is after you go back home after the session, remember the golden words by Bruce Lee. Knowing is not enough. you need to act. Willing is not enough. You need to apply. Okay, so you have to act and you have to apply whatever you have heard today. Otherwise, it was just another session and you heard a lot of things, clap happened. We do not want this thing to happen. Even whatever has been shared by Dr. Asawari with her rich experience and knowledge, if you can apply one thing and make it possible, and in the days to come, if you can share that, okay, this session we had attended and this is what I have been following it up. One thing that I have made it for sure, and this is what I have achieved, maybe in a day, maybe in 10 days or a month or so on and so forth. Do not worry about applying everything that has been told. Make one subtle change, but make it happen. Again, as Bruce Lee said,
consistency.
Yes, consistency.
So that was actually, I wanted to answer that as well. Mindfulness is one thing, but consistency, that yes, I will do this every day, even one small change. And that is what your mentors are always telling me. So that has also helped me a lot. And this year's this year's theme actually for Women's Day is accelerate action. So take action and take charge of your lives, It's really
absolutely, absolutely. Fantastic, fantastic. So again, Dr. Asawari, on behalf of Digital Fitness Hub, the entire family here, we thank you for this precious gift in terms of the knowledge that you have shared. And as listeners and viewers, we would promise you that each one of us is going to apply at least one thing and make it happen in our own lives consistently. Thank you so much. And again, before we leave, we always do this on a platform. We always pay a gratitude. So I request every one of you to please take this moment to join your hands, close your eyes. With a smile, pray for your own self, your families, to have the right wisdom, to understand, to make the changes for yourself and the people around you. This is how we can make subtle corrections in our own ways to bring about that balancing act for the greater purposes. Thank you so much. With this, again, let's do the final thing, the Digital Fitness Hub way, the quantum physics. A high five to the person beside you, make some vibrations, spread the message of fitness, wellness, and a power whoosh. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Asawari. Thank you so much.